Good morning YouTube and welcome back. So in this video we're going to go over loops. For the loops we're going to cover is a while loop, a do while loop, for loop, and a nested loop. So basically what this is saying, so I'm going to go ahead and declare some integers. So let's declare a bool. So bool is true equals true. Now, what a while loop is it's basically saying while the statement inside these parentheses are true, it's going to do this. So inside here, so it's going to check to see if is true is true. And if is true, if that statement is true, then we're going to console.writeLine, or console.write. I'll do a writeLine. WriteLine true. And then I'm going to do a console.readKey. And this is basically what is called an infinite loop, because there's no way out of it, because is true will always be true. So if we hit start, I don't know what just quit. Oh well. So as you can see, it says it's true, true, and it'll just keep saying it until we manually stop the program. So if I didn't have this here, I can go start, and it will forever do it. I know it didn't look like it was writing, but it was. So you have to have a condition in here that will say that will do something else. So we're going to do a console.writeLine. Enter a number between 1 and 10. And this is where we go into an if. So we can do an int, and we'll do input equals 0. So then we do an input equals convert to int console.readLine. My headphones are tangled up. Hang on. That's better. Now we'll do an if, and we'll check this before it happens. So if input is equal to 4, then is true becomes false. And then below this, to show that the loop is done, we'll write loop is finished. Alright, so let's check this out. And we'll do a input equals, that way it'll tell you what input is equal to at the beginning. So we start, and it says input is equal to 0, enter a number between 1 and 10. So I'm going to enter 2. Now input equals 2, enter a number between 1 and 10. Let's go with 8. So see how it keeps going until I enter 4? Wait, what was the number? Oh, it's 3. My bad, okay. So, what it does is it checks this, and then it'll run all of this. So it's still going to ask you. So if I go start and enter 4, if input equals 4, let's kind of debug this a little bit. So it's going to write that, and then it tells you to enter a number. I'm going to go 4. Okay, that's right. Okay. So it still has to do it. I see what I did wrong. So let's take this and put it below this line here. Now it stops it. Because what it does is, since I had it before it still had to go back around the loop to check to see if it equaled 4. By putting it after, then it checked, and then it resulted to false. So then the while condition became false. My bad. Okay, so that's a while loop. So while this is true, do this, is basically the way you think of it. A do while loop is a little bit different. So it says do the code in here while this is true. I have to remember how it's written. It's been a while since I messed with those. Whoa, what am I doing? Oh, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so bool is true, int input equals 0. So now, this is exactly like the while loop, except it checks for true after it does the initial program. So, kind of like this one up here, if I were to set this to false, it would never touch this. But if I were to set it false up here, then it will still do this one time. So it's a way to do that. I can go input plus plus, and what this will do is it'll just increment the numbers by 1 while this is true. Oh, well, it might help if I do a console.writeLine. There we go. And now you can see it incrementing. And you can also see how fast the code runs. But if I were to enter, say, while is true is false, so while it is not true, or basically saying while it is false, code never runs. But it does run because it does go through it once, as you can see right there. So this is exactly like the while loop, except it does this one time and then it goes through it. So see, and then it'll quit. So moving on, my favorite, the for loop. So the for loop is pretty much like it's another basic loop, but what it does is it does a I'm gonna put that. So it does a series of multiple events before it goes into the code. This is a good way to increment a number, increment the index of an array or a list, even if you want to get the alphabet. Okay, so I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So for is the initializer to start the loop, and then you have to declare an int or anything like that, and you can declare that outside of the loop. So let's not do that one yet. I'll do that in a minute. So if int I, or not if, so the very first declaration is you're saying what the first variable and value equal. So in this case we'll use int I equals 1. So in the beginning of the for loop, I will equal 1. Then you check, so the code will run until I is equal to something, or it will run while I is less than 5. So if I said run, so for ni equals 1, I is less than 5. So we're going to do a console.writeLine, and we're going to write I. And then down here we'll do a console.readKey. So now what happens is it's going to print I until I equals 1 or equals 5. Or I said that wrong. It's going to print 1 until I equals I keep using until. It's going to print I as long as I is less than 5. So if we were to go I plus plus, it's going to say I equals I plus I. So it's going to go I equals I plus 1. So now if we print it, it'll print 1 through 4, because it stops as soon as I equals 5. Now if we said print while I is less than or equal to 5, then we're going to go start, and it counts to 5. But if we said that we wanted to print while I is equal to 5, it'll never run because I is 1. Now, this is a good way to like get a sequence of numbers. For instance, if we did for in I equals 1, and then we wanted to do the ending of it would be while it is less than or equal to 1000, and then over here we could do I plus 100, or no. How does that work? Yeah, like that. Then what it does is it takes I, takes itself plus 100. So if we start this, we can see that it counts up by 100. So this is also a good way to get like the entire alphabet. So string A equals A, or string character A equals A, and then we want to increment by 1, or we want to increment until we get to Z. So while A is less than or equal to Z, we can do A++. So what this will do is, what it does is it sets a character of A to the value of the character A. Then it checks to see if A is less than or equal to Z, and then it will increment A up. So if we hit start, we can see here that it started with A, right here. Let me bring this down. Started with A, and it went all the way down to where is it at? And then it went all the way down to Z. So that's a good way to, an easy way to get the alphabet in a list, which I'll show you how to do that when we move over to lists. So, and just to show you how this works, I'm just going to go int b equals a, so you can see how it works through here. So I'll put a stop in here, hit start. So what it does here is it's setting the value of a to this here. And there's little things down here, so I can't remember what these are. And you can pin code things up here. So now if we go to step into, it checks to see if A is less than or equal to Z. And then it runs the code. It does that the first time. So now B equals A. Now it increments A by 1. Checks to see if A is less than or equal to Z. And then it runs the code again. And it keeps doing this until this becomes a true statement. So instead of going we'll use Z for this one. Instead of going like this, and then while A, or while Z is less than or equal to Z, A++, or Z++, instead of writing all of that, you can just write this. which makes it a little bit easier. Now, if you did not want to, let's get rid of this stop and get rid of that pin. We'll say 10, say 0. We don't need anything in here. But, so, now instead of saying int a equals something, what you can do is you can declare it before it gets to this by going int a. So I hope that kind of makes sense. It took me a little while to actually learn exactly what this means, but once you learn how to use it, you're probably going to use it all the time. Because it really cleans up your code and makes it shorter. It's really nice to have. So moving on, a nested loop, which it's pretty easy to do. It's just basically you can do a while. Let's set some integers real quick. So integer a equals 1, integer b equals 2, integer c equals 3. So what we can do is we can do a while, or let's do a bool instead of a third integer. Now we'll set another integer. Integer c equals 0. Bool is true equals true. So while is true. So while is true, we're good. It'll do this code. Now do. So now we're going to do something every time that while comes back to true. So while is true, do a for loop. Or here, let's do while a is less than 3. And then inside this for loop, or inside this do loop, we're going to do a for a equals 0, a is less than or equal to 3, a plus plus. We're going to do a console.write a. And then below this, I'm going to do a console.read key so you can see what it's doing. So basically what's going to happen here is it's going to check to see if is true is true. If this is true, then it's going to do this for loop while a is less than or equal to 3. So if I come down here, I can do a, well, that wouldn't work. Let's use C for this one. And I'll show you why in a minute. And then below this while, or this do while loop, I'm going to do a C, or not a C, but a B, and we'll do an A, then I'm going to go A plus plus. Okay. I'm going to do a console.write line A. and then I'm just going to do if a equals 3 is true equals false. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to check to see if the variable is true equals true. If it is, then it's going to go do this for loop while a is less than or equal to 3. Which it's going to continue to do that because it never keeps going. So I changed it to C. So it's going to wait for C to equal 3. When C equals 3, then it'll go to the next line. So it prints out 0, 1, 2, 3. Changes the 2 to a 1 for some reason. But this is nesting nesting loops, and you can nest a while loop in a while loop. You can nest a for loop inside of a for loop, which you will get used to. We'll go over that whenever we do arrays, because that's how you iterate through an array. We're probably going to use the for loop a lot here in the next couple of videos. And I hope this all made sense. If not, leave the comment below on what I could be doing to make it make sense a little bit more. But stay tuned for the next videos. Post your questions, comments, and concerns in the comment section below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already to see more videos. As always, I will see you in the next video.